and make the hole a little bit larger around. It's deep enough now, it's more than adequate. Oh, that's turning out nice. Alright, in this case I've cleaned the hole out, made it larger, and it's to the point now that, let me turn it upside down. Now you can see that the hole is the size that I want, and now I'll do the pipe stem. But first, I was going to use the burr and burr it out a little bit more, but I think that's going to be just fine the way it is. I'll go in there with a small file and file these ridges out. You can see the ridges in there, and I'll smooth the whole bowl out. Now you see now I have a good reference point where I can stay the same amount of distance all the way around the opening of the bowl, so that it'll be uniform. And the end of it, like I said, is a stem. Stem generally is 3/8 of an inch, and you go in maybe the width of your little finger, about that far deep, 3/8 of an inch, and you already have your pilot hole going all the way to the center. But just always remember to keep your center marks where all your drilling was made. And if you look at where this started right here and went all the way through, you can see that you can come up real high and not hit that hole. You don't want to hit the hole. First of all, you won't be able to use the pipe correctly. Plus they'll see the hole in there, and you can do better carving. And the same thing on the bowl. Now you can see the hole and you know how close you can get, but you want to try to stay uniform. And it's like Da Vinci said when he did Michelangelo's statue, you just take away the parts that don't look like Michelangelo and there you are. And the same thing applies to a pipe. Slowly take it away and make it uniform on both sides. If you look right here, this table, this level part right here, if you go straight across to the other side, it doesn't match up. So I'm going to have to adjust that when I carve it. But I'm just going to do a simple pipe this time and just round off the square edges all the way around. It'll make this round, then I'll make this round. But next, like I said, I'll make a 3/8 inch hole for my pilot hole for my smoking stem. Okay, you can see here where I've started to round it off a little bit right here around the bowl. And you see I just took off a little bit here. On the opposite side, I've done more work. I've made this more rounded here, and the bowl, you can see, is starting to form more. You need to be very careful around the bowl so that it is equal and is a circle, which makes it look better. Then the front of it, I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do with the front of it to make how I want it to look. But it is not square either, and I'll have to bring one level down. And you can see by using the X mark that you put in here to drill your pilot hole, you can judge on what shape to make it, either oval or round. And as I work on it, I want to mention a few things. I've started using a piece of cloth. It's an old dishcloth in the vise. This keeps it from marking up any more than you have to, because you're going to have to sand all those vise marks out. When you start sanding, it gets very dusty, as you can imagine. So it is very important that you get a particle mask like this to wear, and it keeps the dust particles from being inhaled. And also you need to wear glasses, safety glasses, to keep the dust out of your eyes in case something should happen and a piece break off. It won't go into your eye. And I went to the local store, Walmart, got magnification glasses, which helps when I'm doing my close-up work. There's also the type of files that I use. I've got the regular square file, straight edge. It's got ridges on the edge and on the face. I've got a triangular file, and primarily to use the sharp edges instead of the flat edge. That way, in the piece right here, I can go in with very careful strokes and take out the part that I don't want. Then I have a square file, same purpose as the triangular. And last off, I have the half moon. The half moon has a very sharp edge on it right here and on the other side, and that, again, for getting in real close work, either vertically or horizontally. Then a little brush to brush it off, and you can see the smoke that comes up from the powder. Okay, the thing that was most questioned was, you know, are these actually medicine pipes? What you had was the shaman, or your medical representative, the priest, the healer. They would take the pipes, they would pray over the person, then they would smoke the pipe, and the prayers would go to heaven, or to the Creator. Is this true? Well, it just all depends on your belief. When a drug company wants to start a drug, they'll go to the FDA and they said, okay, we've got this drug, and the FDA says, okay, you've got to prove that it works. So they'll go out and they'll get 20 or 30 people, and they said, all right, here, you take this drug, and in 45 days you will grow hair on the top of your head. Oh, that's all well and good. But they also had to have a group that was given a placebo, which is a sugar pill or something that has absolutely nothing to do with what they were testing. And then the results come back. People who took the actual drug found out that 83% of them had grown hair. And the group that just drank apple juice, 13% grew hair. Well, how is that possible? Well, it goes back to belief. You know, if you believe it's going to work, in most cases it will work. And the Cherokees believed in their shamans because they could cure many things. That even the medicine that they used was used by the Europeans in Europe. 40% of the drugs that we used, they used. So the medicine did go along. The horrible part about the smallpox epidemic, it hit so fast that the Cherokee healers did not have a chance to come up with a way to stop it. So I'm going to work on this a little bit more on the off camera and come back and show you how I've done. Alright, what we have now, I've roughed out the blank that I received, the catlinite, and roughed it out with the files, and it's the basic shape I want. And on the front I did a little modification. If you'll see, it's going to be part of an effigy, and I've made the basic design of an eagle's beak, and I'll place the eyes up here and the nostrils. So it will be an effigy pipe, and it's easy to modify, and if you mess something up, you can always file it all the way down and it's gone, and just go with a regular pipe. At a certain point you stop using the files because you can damage it too much. Now it's the time to come in with the sandpaper. Sandpaper has numbers on it. On the back you can see 80. Now 80 means the larger the number, the smaller the grains of sand. So an 80 would be a large grit, is what they call it, G-R-I-T. One of the next levels is 180. Then the last one I use is 800. 800 is very smooth, and use it to wet sand. Wet sand is a process where you put the pipe actually into water and you sand it with a special sandpaper 800 grit, and it takes away all the lines. Every time you use sandpaper, like for instance the 80, it will smooth it out, but it will leave scratches in it, small tiny scratches. Then you go to the next higher, which is a 180. You sand it. It too will make it a lot smoother, but it will leave the lines in it from scratches of the 180. Then you move up to the 800, and you sand it with 800 till they're just about all gone. Then you start wet sanding it, and that will cause all of the grit to wash away and not get impacted back into the stone. And when you get through, it's perfectly small or smooth. And I took a Dremel and I redid the bowl inside and took the grooves out, so it's a little bit nicer. Now you see it's not completely round, the outside of the bowl. That's the purpose of the sandpaper. If I take the file, it's a tendency to take too much off. With the sandpaper, it's a slower process, but that way you get a perfectly round bowl. The same applies to the eagle's beak. Just you take your time and do it right. If you mess up, like I said on this, you can always cut it off and go with a blank. And you can see on the end the same way. Alright, so I'm going to begin sanding it, then I'll come back and talk to y'all later. What I have done is taken the pipe, put it in a pan, covered it with water, drain the water off, set it on a clean cloth, and you'll notice it almost immediately dries up. But you want to make sure you get all the water. Then take a piece of beeswax. Let me get the very front eyes. And you begin rubbing the beeswax on the pipe. Make sure you get all the fissures. And remember, the stone is hot, so be careful. And make sure all the wax gets down in all the crevices. In my next video is going to be I want to make a platform pipe. A very simple one, and the platform pipe does not use a stem. And it's used by the shamans, and many of them put effigies on them, and the effigy always faced the person who was doing the smoking, so he could commute with the effigy a lot easier. And this does get hot. Get some down in the pipe hole where the bowl is. Then look it over and make sure you got all the spots. That little spot right there.